wanted to answer a question, and it's a little more convenient for me to go live and have the video ready to upload than to pre-do a video. It takes longer to upload, and if somebody jumps in here and has a question, you can, get a free answer to a question if it's something I can answer. I actually just did this on TikTok the other day. I invited people in the comments to ask a question. I think I just went over 3,000 followers on TikTok, and two guys asked a question. And, some people complain that I charge for my time, which is me ripping people off, even though Judge Anthony's $750 an hour, Family Court Corner's $250 an hour. But you're mad at me for charging anything for my time and what I did, and you know and what I talk about has worked for thousands of guys before, and people are mad about that. Anyway, the main point of this video, I wanted to respond to a couple comments. So the other day I did a video called "Why Does James keep on criticizing dads who won't fight?" So I'm talking about dads who won't fight. And then I say James is the whiner, the complainer, because people are like, "Oh, you're a hypocrite. You're whining and complaining." So somebody made a comment. So let me just read the comment and then I'll address it, because this is kind of crazy to me. So I'm talking about guys who won't fight for their kids. And I say that's a cowardly move, that you won't fight for your kids because supposedly your kids are worth fighting for. And you won't fight, and you're scared, or you whine and cry and say the system's too hard, and it's too hard, and it's hard, and it's tough, and the system is anti-father, and woe is me. That's what I'm talking about. The vast majority of guys pussy out on their kids and don't want to fight for them because it's hard, or they say, "Well, I don't want to bash the mother. I don't want to destroy the child's relationship with the mother." And the mother's a suicidal maniac, mentally ill, child abusing alienator with 5 mental disorders. And you don't want to rescue your kid from that? That's the people I'm talking about. So this guy says, "While I agree more fathers need to fight and take action sooner in regards to their children, it's not that simple." Bull crap. Yes, it is. It's very simple. It's very simple. It's not complicated. Somebody's trying to steal something from you. You go and get your property back. Somebody's trying to steal your kids from you. Let's say a kidnapper kidnaps your kids. What's so complicated about going and looking for your kids? You call the cops and they get the detectives on it, and you do a search for your kids also. And if the cops aren't on the job, you search even harder. The end. What's so complicated about that? Your baby's mom is blindsiding you and serves you court papers, and it's time to go to court. She's lying about you. She just committed treason, and she's a traitor. You need to fight for your kid. What the only thing that's complicated is when you want to be a sissy simp little crybaby coward, and you want to navigate a war by a method that isn't the method that works. If you're trying to lose weight and you're fat and out of shape, you start exercising and you eat less. It's very simple. That's the easiest formula. People kind of try and complicate it. Well, let me talk about complex carbs and simple carbs and this and that and that and that and reading labels and all this stuff. If you just cut back on stuff or stop eating junk food and you exercise, you'll lose weight. It's pretty simple. But people want to complicate it because they don't want to do the hard part. You complicate it if you don't want to do the hard part. The hard part is simple. Grow some balls and go to war. Now, the details of how to do it, if you have the ball, see, the first number one ingredient that a guy needs to fight in court is a willingness to fight for the kids, no matter what. If you don't have that, you will lose. Now, if you're outside that box and you're a little sissy and you want to dance around the reality of you have to fight, you have to grow some balls, you have to get on the offensive, you have to call the mother out, and you're like, well, I don't want to hurt. I want to go to court, but I don't want to fight. I want to go to court and fight. I love my kids, but I don't want to hurt the mother's feelings, or I don't want to talk bad about them. I talked to a guy the other day. He's like, the mother's crazy and all this other stuff. I need to get the kid out of there. And I'm like, okay, well, you need to get on the offensive and go to war and call her out. He's like, but I don't want to make the mother look bad. You can't have both. You cannot have both. It's like, I want to lose weight, but I still like cookies and candy and ice cream, and I want to eat ice cream all day long, but I want to lose weight. You don't get to do that. This is the path to get there, and you want to go some other path. If there's a flight from Seattle to Miami, there's a straight path. Now you could go up through Canada and over to France and then come back across the Atlantic, but if you're like, no, I want the fastest route, I just don't want to pay for the fastest route. You have to pay a little extra to do the shorter or best route of doing something. So this guy says it's not that simple. Bull crap. It is. I've been doing this 25 years or 24 years. It is simple. It's hard. And there's some legal stuff that's complicated. So there's studying that has to do, but let's look at studying for a college course. You're taking biology in college. It's simple. Go to class, read the material, and study. Now, the details of memorizing stuff, that's a little complicated and hard when you get into it. But if you don't have the willingness to study, you will flunk the class. That's the simple part. And this guy's saying it's not that simple to grow some balls and fight. If you don't have that, you don't get in there. If you want to be a boxer, if you want to be a heavyweight boxer or MMA fighter, you have to train a few hours a day and get ready for the fight. You have to cut weight to make the weight. You have to work hard. If you don't want to do that, you say, well, it's not that simple to just work out, and you don't take the first step, then yeah, then it's complicated to you. So somebody's saying you could have both. You can eat crazy and then work. He's a college wrestler. Okay, well, obviously I'm talking about you have to in out of calories. You have to have less calories coming in than you're burning. So most people, that means cut back on what you're eating. If you're not a world-class wrestler who's working out 6 hours a day, yeah, you could do that. You could eat 5,000 calories or whatever you want. If you burn 7,000 calories, then yeah. But I'm trying to make an analogy to whether guys want to be a pussy or grow some balls and fight for their kids. So the guy goes on to say, and I'm saying this as a father who got custody of his daughter and is currently in the process of getting custody of his son. Okay, so this guy partially won. But that's extremely weird that you got custody of your daughter, but you don't have custody of your son. There's a guy on YouTube, Men Need to Be Heard, explains why fathers don't fight very clearly and hits the nail on the head for the most part. So I went, and he gives a link to a video. I went to that video. The video is talking about women lying and saying guys don't want their kids. So this guy's lying in the comments to make a point. And when you guys get emotional, you make up stuff and get off tangent. So let's lay the foundation. You're in a war over your kids. If you don't have a warrior mentality to go to war and fight all the hell that you're going to go through, you will get killed. The end. So if you don't have the balls to fight, I don't want to talk to you. Now, you might have been a sissy or a coward up until this point, or you had a lawyer saying, play nice, sit down, be quiet, trust the process, and you're sick and tired of that, and you're changing, then I can work with you. But I'm weeding out all the guys, and I've been doing, like I said, I've been doing this 24 years. I played Mr. Nice Guy with guys for years. I volunteered and answered calls for Dads Against Discrimination, worked with the other parent of another group that's fizzled out and died out. And I'd done my own thing, and I'm talking to guys, and like, I can't do it, I can't fight, this sucks, it's hard, and it's the system, and blah, blah, blah. And I try and encourage them and stuff. Those people, they just got their mind made up. They want the system to change and cater to them. And it's not changing. And who are we men to sit here and say, well, the system sucks and the system wrong, and they shouldn't do that? I got a bunch of comments over the past couple of days. Well, the system shouldn't be like that. Okay, no shit, Sherlock. What are you going to do about it? You're going to sit back and hold your breath and wait till the system changes 100 years from now? Maybe. We've been whining, crying, and pissing and moaning for 60 years about the system, and nothing has changed. We haven't put a dent or a scratch into it. I had a guy who was talking to these sovereign nation dudes, and he was doing the I'm a sovereign nation argument and stuff and losing in court. And then at some point, the sovereign nation guys say, well, you know what? You're losing in court. You're just going to have to sacrifice your life with your kid for a couple of years and fight the cause, fight the system and, for the cause. Those guys have been at it for decades and nothing has changed. They do it in criminal court too. A guy walks in. I saw it firsthand when I was a clerk at the courthouse. Guy walks in with the orange jumpsuit. I'm a sovereign nation. You have no legal authority over me. And the judge says, okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, put him back in the cell. What good did that do in reality? These guys live in a fantasy utopia like they're going to be the Martin Luther King of the sovereign nation movement, and they're going to suffer for decades and decades and then hope sometime in the future that things will change. Now, they're right about some things, and the family court system is unconstitutional. There's another guy who said, oh, you shouldn't be going to the system, a third party, to rule over you. You don't have a choice, dumbass. If a mother drags you into court, you can't say, we shouldn't be here. We're talking about a psychotic witch and manipulator and alienator, and you're sitting here saying, we shouldn't be trusting the court. Okay, there's two people. You don't have control over her free will. She's taking you to court to abuse the system. Now what? Oh, well, we shouldn't have to do this, or the system shouldn't be like this. And I wish, and then you click your heels. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. This is the problem. You realize the system's corrupt, and your answer in your mind is, I want the system to go away. Mommy, come and rescue me like you did when I was growing up. You always rescue me from every problem. Pussy ass bitch. The system is corrupt. Why are men the first category of people who don't have to fight corruption? Women fought corruption or misogyny early in the 1900s when they were barefoot and pregnant and couldn't work and couldn't do this and that. They fought like hell. Japanese folks in World War II were thrown in concentration camps. They ended up getting reparations for that. They had to fight the bigotry against them. Of course, black people had to fight for decades and decades. But we men, we're such pussy little feminine bitch-made divas. We think we're entitled to just sit around and wait for the system. The root of the problem is the same thing that David Goggins says. Go watch a David Goggins video. That guy was bullied growing up, was threatened by some Klan folks. He was like the only black kid in his neighborhood in Indiana, where there was some Klan groups that were still active. I think he's almost 50 years old now. He got the snot beat out of him by his stepdad. He had a learning disability. He'd have to study for 4 hours in school when another kid took him 5 minutes. So he accepted that he was slow, he was fat, and he was depressed, and he made a decision to move forward despite his feelings, despite the hardships. Now they call him the baddest mother effer in the world. Navy SEAL, all these accomplishments. He overcame a lot of stuff. And this is what he says. He says, I looked up one day, I had some people making comments, I can't do this. I'm halfway through law school, I'm halfway through medical school, or I'm struggling to do this and that. He goes, you know what? I had the same problem that you had. One day I sat down and looked at myself and talked to myself and thought about it. And I realized what the root of my problem was. I finally figured out I got the same problem you do. I was just being a bitch. You can fight in your case. And the best way that guys can fight is getting on the offensive and going to war. But I don't want to hurt the baby's mom's feelings. Why don't you want to do that? Oh, because I'm a henpecked little bitch who got punked the whole relationship, and I don't know how to stand up to her. Or I had a guy I talked to, and he was mad that I was asking him questions because I was like, well, "Why do you think like that?" Well, and when you ask somebody why, it makes them reflect and look at themselves. He just wanted to whine, cry. The system sucks. The system sucks. I said, well, why don't you want to fight for I don't want to hurt. I don't want to destroy the relationship with my baby's mom. Okay, well, you need to take the kid away from the baby's mom. Well, I don't want to destroy it. I said, I didn't tell you to destroy it. I told you rescue the kid from the mom and she'd get mental health help or whatever her problem is. And then he was bouncing around. Well, I don't want to do that to her. Well, I want to take my kid. Pick a side. You can't do all of that stuff. You can't please the mother, please the judge, please the guardian ad litem. You're going to war in court and you have enemies. Somebody says hello from Melbourne, Australia. I work with people in Australia. Australia is pretty bad too. I've found one guy, one lawyer, and I like him, and I've never talked to him, but he has a pay on his page. He said he's sick and tired of lawyers promising the stars and the sky and stuff to people and not actually fighting for them. He's the only attorney I've ever seen advertise and bash the entire legal system or other attorneys. But back to my point, you got to pick a side. You can't go into a war and say, you know what? I really like these Al Qaeda guys. I feel bad for them because they grew up in a system and they were brainwashed to think the way that they think. And I feel bad for them. While you're sitting there not fighting them, you're going to get your head blown off. While you're sitting there saying, I want to rescue my kid, but I don't want to talk bad about the mother who's a mentally ill, alienating child abuser. I don't want to call her out for that. You're going to court to tell the truth. I just talked to a woman the other day. I had a consult. Let me talk about this one. Recently, I had 4 consults in a day, and I can remember this because I usually don't have that many consults. But I had 3 short ones, I think, and a long one, or 2 long ones and 2 short ones. A couple 30-minute follow-ups, I think. I can't remember, but anyway, I talked to 3 guys who talk like this the whole time. Didn't fight, haven't seen their kids for years. Dad didn't want to fight, didn't want to hurt the mother's feelings, but he wanted his kid. All over the map. A woman called me, and we got right to the point. She listened to what I was saying. She didn't interrupt me. I was listening to her. I didn't interrupt her. We went back and forth, had a great dialogue, and now she has a game plan. And at the end, I was like, you're a woman. I got to ask you, why did you call me, even though I talk like an a-hole in my video? She goes, I love it. You were straight to the point. I'm sick and tired of all these other lawyers and advocates saying, I got to play nice. I can't get on the offensive. And you're the only one I ever heard say that. This is the difference you're going to get with me. And so this guy who's sitting there saying, he's obviously still watching me because I got some good information, but he doesn't like my approach and my tone. I don't care. If I'm going to give you a treasure map to some gold and if you find it, you're going to be rich the rest of your life. Do you care if I crumple up the map and throw it at you and say stupid mother effer? I don't just randomly do that for no reason. But what if I did that and you have a map that leads to it? Would you say, I don't like the way he talked to me. Take your map back. You see how stupid that is? But I got golden answers for what has worked for people to get their kids back. Why are you more concerned about your pussy-ass, thin-skinned feelings than rescuing your kid? Watch my videos that don't, I have categories of videos, for, when you have the different categories of videos. I'm losing the word for it. Playlists. I have different playlists. One of them says inspire dads or motivation for dads. Don't watch those videos then. Just look for instructional videos. Like if I talk about evidence rule 602, or if I talk about how I deal with the police, or, best argument for 50-50, or information for questions for a deposition. Go watch those videos. You don't have to watch the ones that hurt your little prissy, sensitive anus. So this guy refers me to a guy on YouTube. He said he hits on the nail on the head why guys don't fight. So this guy is confused. The guy who, and I'll put the link of this video under here, which you can look at the comments that I'm talking about. This guy says, oh, this other guy talks about why guys don't fight. The commenter is lying. The video that he referred me to, the guy says, women lie that men don't fight for their kids and men are a bunch of deadbeats and they abandon their kids and they would get more custody if they wanted to fight. So the guy was addressing that lie. He wasn't really saying why men don't fight other than the system sucks and the system's corrupt. We already know that. See, people come on my page and my gender is filled with, and I'm not talking about every single guy. I'm talking about the ones who come on my page and you're a little bit retarded and you're a little bit low IQ. And when I sit here and say that I understand the system's corrupt, but this is how you got to deal with it, and you want to educate me that the system's corrupt because you're so traumatized by it, you think I don't get it. I went through the system for 20 years. How many years have you gone through it? In my own case, I was in and out of court for 20 years. My baby's mom would do contempts, restraining order attempts. I would go for child support, and her attorney would turn a 2-week hearing into a 3-month warfare. I had my original 7-month custody battle. Then I had a 1.5 years on a relocation. She tried to stop me from moving and then modify when she lived in LA and I was moving 30 miles from Seattle to Tacoma. I've been in and out of court for 20 years. What have you done to whine and cry and say, James, you don't know what you're talking about. Let me educate you on a corrupt system. And I've been helping 25,000 guys over the course of like a quarter of a century. See, you have no self awareness. Your entire perception of reality is my feelings, they hurt. I got trauma from the court system. We already know that. This page is not to rehearse over and over and over and over and over again how bad the system is. You dumb, airheaded, stupid, pathetic, sad sack of shit that wants to just whine, cry, piss, and moan and huddle in a corner in a fetal position and have me come over and hug you and spoon you. You need to wake the hell up. We already know the system's corrupt. What if Malcolm X and Martin Luther King were out there saying, you know, white people are racist and 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 it's unfair to black people, it's unfair to black people. They were talking about changing people's perspectives. Look at us. We're human. You know, Martin Luther King gave examples. The government gave all kinds of stipends and checks to low-income white folks to build farms, and they got all this government advocacy, and we're asking for our check. We helped build this country. He would make arguments like that. He didn't just sit there and say, whine, cry, piss, moan, whine, cry, piss, moan, whine, cry, piss, and moan. He had some of that. But in order to move forward, you don't just sit there and look back and look at the system. And again, my gender thinks we're a bunch of entitled divas and the system should cater and change for us. That is a feminine, sissy, diva, bitch-made mentality. Why do you want to act like that? Your life with your kid is at stake right now. I got guys who, the first thing out of their mouth, oh, I'm going to sue my judge. I'm going to sue the guardian ad litem. I'm going to sue the attorney. Have you filed a motion for full custody? Oh, not yet. I'm just going to destroy them. I got blindsided with a restraining order. Why don't you fight and rescue your kid and then come around and fix the system? But here's the thing. 100% of every guy I've ever talked to who said, yeah, when I'm done with my case, I'm going to fight the system. I'm going to create a group. I'll be out there protesting with you, James. They all disappear because they're burnt out from the case, especially if they didn't fight the right way because they laid down like a doormat, bent over, pulled their booty cheeks open and took it up the rear because their attorney said, play nice, do this, do that, do that. Go trust the system, trust the guardian ad litem, trust the mental health evaluator that the mother picked, trust the system and trust the process. And then what the attorneys do, I've already told you this to you guys in a video that I did about attorneys and how they milk you. Attorneys come on board and get a big fat retainer. They might fight, and it looks like they fight a little bit at the first hearing, and then they do emails and guardian ad litems and talk and do this and back and forth with you. Next thing you know, the 5,000 burn, need another 5,000. You're 20,000 in. Time to go to mediation. Oh, we can't settle at mediation. No, you need to settle on this. Why? I want to go to trial. Let's fight this. Your attorney says, I'm going to bail on you at trial unless you give me $20,000. Or you need to take this deal because you're behind the eight ball and you're screwed. And then they move on to the next big fat retainer. 95% of court cases settle out of court. These attorneys are not trying to help you. They're trying to make a retainer, and then they're trying to milk it. When I worked at McKinley Irvin in Seattle, the largest family law only firm, the owner of there's the partners, Sands McKinley. Rita Irvin was the other one. She's nice. I like her. She was cool. But Sands McKinley, the husband, who's now retired, I guess, he said, if you're thinking about a client, you better bill them. I want everybody in here to have every paralegal, every legal assistant, every file clerk. You better have 7.5 hours of billing time. That was the number one priority. Not we want to make sure we serve our customers. Now they had a high level of professionalism because they were the number one family law firm or largest family law firm, and they were getting paid a whole bunch of money by gay folks to help push gay marriage. So they had a political agenda in mind. So they had to keep a good reputation in the community. So they had to save face, kiss ass, and have this professional image, because if they didn't have this high image, they couldn't win the legislature over to help push gay marriage. So they were all, and Sands McKinley actually told me, I want to get to the point where we only do family law cases with $1 million worth of assets. And I said, why is that? We were sitting down, chit-chatting about stuff. I actually talked to him about, my baby's mom's attorney. He's like, oh my God, that guy is horrible. I said, I kicked his butt in court. He's like, really? That's crazy. I hated that dude, hated to deal with him. Anyway, Sands and McKinsey, we're at a luncheon, or there was a big brunch or celebration or something like that. I can't remember, but we're all sitting down at lunch, and I was sitting across from him, and we chit chatted. He said he wanted to get to a place where the firm only took cases worth $1 million because number one, those clients always paid. Number two, those cases are more fun. How could you actually say that stuff is fun? And then the goal is money. So we already know all this stuff. Now what are you going to do? Now it's time to fight. Oh, I want the system to change, and guys don't fight because it's hard and it hurts our feelings and it's butthurt and blah, blah, blah. At least 80% of you knew you had a crazy woman and you were dumb enough to get with a crazy woman. So was I, and I could admit that. And I had hell to pay for being with a crazy woman. That's life. But guess what? My daughter didn't choose to have a crazy mom. It was my fault. I brought her into this world, so I was going to fight for her to be in a sane situation. And at first I was going 50-50. Then eventually I went for full custody, and I beat the snot out of the mother over and over and over again. And even if I didn't win the hearings that I won, I wore her down through the war of attrition, which I tell you guys is the main thing. That it's what works against you guys. And that's how most of my clients have gotten full custody or 50-50 or gotten out of supervised visitation. It's worked over and over and over. And you see testimonials. And this dumbass is on my page telling me my approach is not working. So let's get to the rest of the comment. So one of the comments is, fathers do need to fight and take more action, but it's not that simple. So he said, fathers need to fight more, but it's not that simple. Yes, it is. And then he gives a video about how it's hard. I never said it's not hard. Do you have some balls? There's a video I just saw, David Goggins' video the other day. He's like, people are saying, he's talking about exercise. People are saying they can't exercise. Do you have a floor? Do you have some shoes? Here's what I need you to do. I need you to stand up straight and reach down with your hand between your legs and see if do you have some balls? And then he said, do you have a floor? Do some push-ups. Do you have shoes? Go walking and then start running. It's simple to get moving and get going. People are just, fear is a paralyzer. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. You should be afraid to face your kids and say, Daddy was a pussy and he never wanted to fight for you because it hurt his feelings. And then your kids know that they weren't worth you fighting for. I had my mind made up from the beginning of my case. I'm going all out for my daughter. If I continue to lose, because I didn't have any visitation for the first 2.5 months. One of my haters on TikTok, he said he talked to me 15 years ago and he went to court and they threw out his paperwork. Now that means that he did something wrong and didn't listen to something I was saying. And later I realized this guy just wants to pay somebody else to do it and he doesn't want to put the work in. Even if you give him step by step, he's so traumatized, he doesn't want to put the work in. And then he said he spent 15 years with attorneys and spent like $20,000 and he's still on supervised visits and he blamed me. So he tried once and lost and quit on what I was talking about. And then he went to attorneys and then he said, see, James, you're an idiot, and telling everybody I'm a con artist. And he went with the con artist. And he's so stupid. After the first $5,000, he spent another $5,000, another $5,000, another $5,000. And he stayed on supervised visits for 15 years. And I'm the bad guy. And I lost I didn't lose my first hearing. Those were restraining order attempts, and the judge continued it for a couple weeks, and then he said you're going to family court. I'm going to let the restraining order drop off, and then deal with family court. And there was no restraining order ever again. That was just a temporary emergency one. She never won the permanent one, so she lost. But my point is, I didn't get any visitation at that hearing. I didn't get visitation after that. I didn't get visitation in my first hearing in front of a family law commissioner. They needed to investigate me first and appoint a guardian litem. And then I went to a judge and the mother got a continuance because she hired an attorney. And then 2.5 months later, after starting my court case, I got 5 days a week visitation. So this guy who's a hater of mine, he quit after one hearing and then hired an attorney and then just trusted the attorney to do everything for him. And then he said the only reason I got custody is because my baby's mom is a black crackhead. And she's a human resource manager. So after I told him that, then he's like, well, you got custody because she's a black woman in Washington. Washington is a liberal state that bends over backwards for women, period, and women of color even more. So this guy was a delusional. He looked like a white trash trailer park meth head, and he was acting like it in his talks. And he said, this is what he said. And this is why the baseline of my haters always comes down to men being pussy ass bitch, fruity little gay boy cowards. That's the root of the problem here. If you're a warrior and you're willing to fight, you'll be able to go through some of this stuff and you'll be able to do the stuff that helps you win. And I don't even guarantee, I'm not like Judge Anthony or Family Court Corner and I talk about this is all the help you need and blah blah and insinuate that you'll win if you do this. You could still lose and have a great case. Your best chance, what I say is your best chance to get something fair is to fight the right way from the beginning. And if you didn't fight the right way from the beginning, you didn't follow your conscience and you followed the lead of a psycho crazy attorney who said, you're only going to get every weekend. I went to that guy's video. In the comments, this guy said, this other father's rights guy is telling you why men don't fight. I already know why men don't fight. I've been doing this 24 years. This is the arrogance of a guy with no self-awareness coming on my page and sitting there trying to educate me on the system that I've been in for 24 years and 20 in my own case. I just had somebody call and complain that they have 300 documents in their file already. I have 1,200 in mine. And that doesn't count the Court of Appeals and the other cases where the mom tried to get a restraining order. That doesn't count me getting a restraining order against a crazy chick I dated a couple years ago. And I could admit I'm a dumbass for playing Captain Save-A-Ho and not reading the red flags. You know, I have a nice run at my dating relationships for a couple decades. I had two bumps in the road, my baby's mom and this crazy chick. But I got a protection order against her, and she tried to get one against me 4 different times, and I fought them off. So I have a track record of doing this stuff. And rookies who come on now, this guy, you know, that's great. He got custody of one of his kids, and he's fighting for the other one. But he's coming on here making these comments. Let me go to the other comment because I'm rambling about the Olin. So then he says, also, I don't think the negative criticism and speaking down on fathers is getting the outcome you might be seeking. What the F outcome do you think I'm seeking? So this guy with no self-awareness is telling me all your negative comments, guys need to grow some balls and they're being pussies and cowards if they don't want to fight for their kids in a war over their kids. You're not getting the outcome you want. What's the outcome I want? Miss 1900, Miss Cleo 1900 psychic? See, guys like this who make this comment, and this is Pan Slaya. And, you know, I'm happy for him he got his kid. But this guy came on board early on a long time ago and made some whining, crying comment. And then he said something commending me. And he's like, yeah, I thought you were a jerk at first, but you're right about this. I just don't like your tone. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And now he's coming on here telling me about the outcome I might be seeking. How the hell do you know what the outcome? The outcome I'm seeking is for guys to rescue their kids. And if they don't want to fight for their kids, I don't want to work with them. And I can't work with them. And I've done it for 24 years. What the F are you talking about, dude? I'm not getting the outcome I'm seeking. I'm not seeking any outcome for me personally. I won. Here's the formula that helps guys win in family court. Do you want to use the formula? You're going to have to grow some balls because it's going to be hard. If you don't have balls, then go do all the other guaranteed failure methods. Trust an attorney, trust the process. And if guys want to argue with me why they can't do it, then they're a bunch of pussies. And that's a fact. I'm not giving you an opinion. I just had a female friend of mine, I've mentioned this in a couple of videos, a female friend of mine called me and said, James, my husband's son has a custody battle. My husband has a grandchild that he hasn't seen, and he doesn't even know the name of because his son won't fight. How do I get in there and help make these guys fight or whatever? I'm like, you can't make them do anything. And she said, what is wrong with your gender? I've referred 3 different guys to you, and they said they already heard of you in the greater Seattle area, and they never called you. Why are men such pussies, James? This is a woman begging guys to fight for their kids. We are men. We are our own worst enemy. You don't think that men have been deballed and feminized? I just saw a video where they're talking about how estrogen is all in the food everywhere. And, they got it even in the formula. They were talking about, like women are getting off of breastfeeding, that gives the girls estrogen and the boys testosterone and everything that they need. It's like God's design. It's miraculously but so many people get on formula, and it's literally turning men into soy boys. And we have so many things with soy out there. We're turning into sissies. Somebody said hello from Vegas. Are you in Vegas or Henderson or? I actually go down to the Spring Valley area kind of regularly. Did somebody? I just want to make sure somebody didn't have a question. Okay, so I want to answer this question. So, because he made two comments. Also, I don't think the negative criticism and speaking down on fathers is getting the outcome. So, I'm speaking down on fathers, telling them to grow balls and pick themselves up by their bootstraps and fight, because the woe is me, whining, crying, pissing, and moaning is a loser strategy. And they're like, what you're saying is too harsh. I don't want to bash the baby's mom. You have to. You're going to court to tell the truth. The woman I just talked to, she was like, I'm told to go to court, and she's getting screwed by a sociopath, narcissistic ex-husband who kind of abused her through the relationship. And her attorney is saying, well, we're behind the eight ball. You don't want to talk bad about him. You want to trust the guardian litem. You want to cater to these people. She's sick and tired of catering to everybody. I said, go in there and criticize them. So these legal strategies are the mother's lying about you. The guardian litem's lying about you. The mother's attorney's lying about you. The parenting evaluator lied about you. In turn, 80% of Americans have some kind of mental disorder. And they're sitting there saying because you have a little bit bipolar disorder, or you have a little bit of manic depressive, whatever, or depression, that the kids should be deprived of their parent. That's insane. So they're in there lying, and your attorney is saying, just be quiet and let the liars keep shouting and talking and influence the judge. You be quiet and don't criticize them. And let's not talk about the mother's mentally ill and suicidal. That'll make you look bad. So you be quiet and let all these liars all in the courtroom. Just think of all these different things. These are different mouths and different people testifying. You just stay quiet and trust the system. What the hell? Who the hell thinks like this and actually believes that this insanity is something normal? So let's not talk about the elephant in the room, what the real problem is. Let's not go to court and tell the truth about the evil people. Let's let the evil people talk crazy about me, and I'll sit back and hope that the judge looks past all the evidence and testimony and expertise by the expert, the guardian litem, the psychologist, and all the experts. Let's hope the judge just ignores that miraculously and reads your mind and finds you to be a great father because you're nice in court. That's freaking insane. And I'm telling guys, you don't like that. You don't believe that. You want to shout from the rooftops what's wrong with her. And see, you're going to court to tell the truth and to have a findings of facts, findings of truth, and conclusions of law. And the law is in your favor. Which parent won't alienate the kids? Which parent is performing parenting functions? Which parent is making good judgment decisions for the children's welfare? Which parent doesn't have a mental disorder? You win on all that stuff. And your attorney is saying, don't argue the winning points. That's freaking insane. And this guy is saying, James, don't talk down to dads. Don't be so negative. It hurts our feelings. Please don't do that. You'll get a better outcome if you talk. This guy, the devil's talking to this dude. Because I'm the only one out here talking like this. So he says, the negative criticism is speaking down on fathers. When a father is a quitter and a loser and doesn't want to fight and doesn't want to tell the truth and wants to sit down and take it up the rear, he's a bitch-ass coward. And fathers will say, well, that's what my attorney told me to. So if somebody in a suit and tie tells you to bend over backwards and just take it up the rear, if somebody in a suit and tie comes knocking at your door, hey, why don't you just hand over your car? You got two cars. Nobody needs two cars. Give us one of your cars. You would say, F off. Or you should do this and you should do that. Let's say you didn't want to take the shot during the worldwide shutdown. You stood up to that. Why can't you stand up to a corrupt judge or corrupt attorney and people lying to you? You could stand up to all kinds of other stuff. There's all kinds of videos on YouTube of people standing up to cops when they pull them over and they're treating them like crap, and they videotape that stuff. People are standing up everywhere else to injustices, but you won't stand up when it comes to rescuing your kids. You care more about appeasing the mother and being popular and making sure everybody likes you, or you're just a pussy at heart. And I didn't go into court with some brave Superman boldness and confidence that I was going to bowl everybody over. I went to court scared and nervous and got dry throat in the middle of my speeches sometimes. And I felt overwhelmed and I felt the whole world coming against me. But you know what I said to myself when I felt those feelings? So what? My daughter's at the other end of this courtroom. I have to go down this dark, dreary tunnel. I give the Indiana Jones movie example. Indiana Jones is seeking a treasure, the Ark of the Covenant, or what was one another artifact was like the cup, Last Supper cup that Jesus drank from, and I can't remember what the other ones were like. So he's seeking a prize or some treasure, and he goes through tunnels and dark places and places where there's snakes, and he hates snakes, and there's there's natives in the area that are savages that are trying to kill him, poison him, shoot arrows at him. And then there's other people just trying to kill him along the way. But there's a treasure at the end of that dark. And so I look at family court as this dark tunnel, and there's a boulder ready to go down the tunnel, like that famous scene in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. One time he's going through some tunnel or a cave, and this big boulder came. There's all these booby traps. That's the term. Booby traps. There's spikes that are closing in. He gets trapped in some place, and there's walls that are closing in with spikes, and he escapes that. So I'm going down this tunnel, and it's ugly, and it's not fair, and it's not nice. And all I want is to get to the other end of the tunnel and see my daughter. My baby's mom was saying, okay, he could see her for a few hours, but he wants to see her every day. She was complaining that I wanted to see my daughter every day. I flipped that around and made her look stupid. I wanted to see my daughter. I wanted to be the child's daycare while she was at work. And then I could have Saturday, she could have Sunday, and the next week we could flip. And she said, oh, he wants to see the kid every day. The kid will be with him Saturday and stay the night, and then he brings Sunday, so every single day. And the judge actually was like, well, that was the restraining order judge. He said he'll never get that. And later, 8 months later, I wrote a letter to that judge and said, hey, you should kind of watch what you say. I got full custody. You said I wouldn't even get the 50-50 I was asking for. He goes, well, congratulations. I'm still learning. 70-year-old judge who'd been doing it 10 years said, I'm still learning. So this guy says, I shouldn't talk so negative and criticize fathers. If you have a coach who has players who are giving half-ass effort, he will tell them to stop half-assing it. He will make them run laps or run lines or do gassers. He will chew them out if they're not doing their job. In the military, you get chewed out not doing your job. At work, some workplaces, you will get chewed out or firmly talked about or threatened or disciplined. So how come you can tolerate that if you ever played sports or wrestled or played football? You think like even in the Rocky movies, even if you've never seen a trainer working with somebody, they chew those guys out if they're half-assing it. So I'm supposed to, when guys are up here, I want to half-ass it and fight for my kid. How can I half-ass it, James, or not fight that hard and still win? There is no formula for that. And I'm sick and tired of talking to guys over and over and over for 24 years, and none of them grow balls except for 1%. I'm here for the 1%ers. And this guy says, you're not getting the outcome you're not seeking because you're not being nice enough. If I'm nice to pussy-ass bitches, they're not going to change. That doesn't help me. Dumbass. So why continue to do what clearly isn't working? Oh, so what I'm doing clearly isn't working. I stopped counting at 300 the number of dads who got full custody without an attorney. You cannot find, I dare you guys, find me one attorney out there who's gotten 10 dads full custody in their entire career. 10. Just see if they got 10. And I'm talking about in contested cases where they're fighting. If the mother came in and voluntarily said, okay, you can have custody. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about fighting cases, contested cases. I stopped counting at 300. I have literally 300 times better record than any attorney out there. And what this dumbass is saying, what you're doing is clearly not working. No, your bitch ass feminine feelings are still getting hurt because you don't like my tone and it's making you feel a certain way. Have you surveyed all 25,000 people that I've talked to? This is where guys get feminine energy and they make a feminine diva comment because they don't like a real man telling them to do real man stuff. James, what you're doing isn't working. That's insanity. So it's insane for me to tell guys to grow some balls, stir them up to have courage to fight, whether it feels bad or not, because this is the only way you have a chance to win. So what I'm saying isn't working. Yeah, it's not working for the pussy ass bitches because they're not going to fight anyway. Guys want me, and I'm not, and I guess what he's saying is the system isn't changing. I'm not expecting the system to change because that would take a revolution. But again, my gender is a bunch of pussy ass bitches. 100% of guys who got help from me and said, I can't wait till this is done. I'm going to be supporting you. We're going to start a father's rights group. And we're going to overturn the system. They fall off the face of the earth and they disappear because they're burnt out when they're done. All you guys talking shit about me, why don't you form your own father's rights group? Because you won't do it because you're a pussy and you want somebody else to do it. Why? Here's what happens. A guy gets served divorce papers. He says, why isn't anybody doing anything about this? How come the system stays like this? Nobody cares. And the person complaining, why isn't anybody doing anything? They're not doing anything either. So a million guys are saying, why isn't anybody doing anything? Everybody's sitting around pointing, why aren't you doing something? Why don't you do something? I'm doing something right now. I've helped 300 guys get full custody and thousands more get 50-50 or get off of supervised visits. I'm doing something and helping guys win. You want me to fix everything? Everybody wants me to cater to them. I do a nice video and people chew me out. I do a harsh video and people chew me out. I get on here and give people answers, and I got people hating on me saying, "Oh, you only got custody because you had a kid with a black crackhead." I'm not going to please everybody, and I'm not out here to do that. I'm out here to find the guys who have balls who want to fight. Nobody wants somebody enlisting in the army and going through boot camp. A sergeant of a boot camp doesn't want to turn a bunch of pussies into real men. Real men who are warriors come to boot camp, and they train them how to specifically execute their warrior mentality and go out and fight like a warrior. So why continue to clearly do what isn't working? I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Because he agreed with me that more fathers need to fight and take action sooner than later. I mean, that's key also. The sooner you get on the offensive, the better. And again, it's a war of attrition. Women are winning because 95% of cases settle out of court and 90% of the time women are getting custody. So the guys settle on the women getting custody. So the guys are surrendering. So those guys are quitting on their case because they didn't get on the offensive in the beginning. The mother doesn't have any motive to compromise. And so she bullies and punks him. So this guy says, my negativity, why continue to do what clearly isn't working? That's insanity. So perhaps try another approach helping us fathers because the negative criticism doesn't appear to be working. F you, you punk ass sissy little bitch. You exemplify what's wrong with men out here. You made a presumption that all the guys who got full custody and that worked, that what I'm doing isn't working. What you're saying is my approach hurts your little vagina and it gives you a labia injury, and then you don't like watching my videos and it's not working for you. You got custody of one of your kids. Go do the same thing with the other kid. The guys who love criticizing me are the guys who never get a consult and never talk to me, never buy a packet, and they're just sitting back. You want your pussy ass bitch made crybabiness that, I was going to try and get on here and be nice and be cool about it, but he's sitting there saying, try a different approach. I've done this 24 years. I told you guys. I did the nice approach. Well, come on, you can do it. Come on, you can do it. Whine, cry, piss. No, I can't. No, I can't. That just took energy from me. I'm not going to go talk. Just like, watch a David Goggins video. He's not going to sit there and engage with somebody who said, I can't. He says, grow some balls and be a man and fight through the pain and suffering. He says, you will suffer. You fight through the suffering. Life is going to suck anyway. Why won't you why don't you make progress while you're suffering instead of wallowing in suffering and becoming a worse version of yourself? While you're suffering, you're going to suffer in family court. Why not suffer getting on the offensive, which gives you the best chance to get something fair? And when I tell people that, they don't like it. And then I tell them, grow some balls or quit on your kid. That's the reality of the facts. And this guy's saying, try a different approach. That hurts my little pussy ass bitch made feelings. My butthole itches when you say that. Get the F out of here. When you start, Mr. Panslaya, when you start a father's rights group and you play Mr. Knight, you don't have the balls to even do that. You don't have the balls. You got custody of one of your kids. How come you haven't started a group telling people how you got custody? Why don't you try it? You'll quit within 3 months. 99% of fathers' rights groups fail within 2 years. I've been a part of some, and I've been watching them. And I was participating in fathers' rights groups where we're going to do something to change the system. And all the guys were no-shows, or they quit, or they go to one protest, and they never show up any again, because guys are total divas. They want the system to change overnight and cater to them. They're pussy ass bitches. I've been around it and entrenched in it I worked at the courthouse. I worked at law firms. I worked as a paralegal. I worked as a contract paralegal. I got attorneys who buy my packets in my store, and find them helpful. Attorneys who started are relatively new. Excuse me. Watch my videos, and then they buy my packets. And dads who are getting their ass kicked won't even consider buying a packet of mine or getting a consult with me. Just like, there's a great awakening of a movement of people nowadays seeing in politics how the CIA and FBI operates, and how, like, when a president when Reagan was in charge, they were wondering whether he was starting to have dementia, and he fell asleep, and people were questioning that. Now, for the past 4 years, now we see that, the person that's supposed to be in charge is not in charge, so somebody else is in charge. And the average person is waking up to that, even though it was right in front of us for the past several decades. But the complaint about people who are waking up is like, why isn't everybody else waking up and seeing this? And how we have a soft fascist government with the spying, and since 9/11, we have Homeland Security, and they get to survey us and watch our every move, and Big Brother and all this stuff. There's people waking up to that, and corruption in the government. The government is just there to enrich themselves and not to serve us like they're supposed to. And there's a big awakening. But we never would have been shut down worldwide. We never would have had our rights violated like we did if we would just stand up. If we would, the income tax, there's no law that requires you to pay an income tax. Everybody would stop paying an income tax. We would drain the swamp from that. They wouldn't have any resources or money to be able to use. And there are people out there, the people who used to work for the IRS, saying don't pay an income tax. And then the average person doesn't even listen to the professionals because we're a bunch of pussy ass cowards and sheep. And I'm not gonna engage with a bunch of cowards and talk about their loser stories on how they lost and how they can't win. I have a formula that's worked for thousands of people. Do you think I'm gonna sit here and play nice with? I mean, what do you want me to do? I have plenty of videos where I'm talking about lessons and things like that. But I'm also talking about I'm being nice and professional and all that stuff. But everybody wants me to be nice and all this other stuff, and they get triggered because here's what's really the problem. You would not get triggered if you weren't being a pussy ass bitch coward and you were fighting for your kid the right way from the beginning. You wouldn't be triggered. If women call me and say they love me being straight to the point and all that stuff. Men are the only ones who piss, cry, and moan. I didn't finish my point about one day I had 4 consults in a day. 3 guys, whine, cry, piss, and moan, talked over me, told me why they didn't fight for their kids and all this other stuff. The woman who called me that day, we had a great conversation. I did kind of say this. We went back and forth. She got her stuff out. I led the conversation so we didn't waste time. A lot of guys want to call and just whine, cry, piss, and moan and go off on a tangent, and I don't even get a chance to tell them anything. And I'll say, hey, look, we're on pace where I'm not getting this stuff across to you. I had a guy criticize me and say, well, you're not getting to the point of this video. I would never get a consult with you because you can't get around to the point. When I have consults, I get right to the point, and I have to reel people in. My gender is so stupid. You got answers or somebody with answers right in front of your face. And all you want to do is criticize me because you don't like the reality of you have to grow some balls, you have to fight, and you got to stop listening to all these people that you want to kiss the ass of, because now you have to deal with the difficulty of being rejected. And because you're a pussy ass bitch, you're worried about the guardian ad litem rejecting you, and your lawyer rejecting you, and the baby's mom rejecting you, and you looking bad for criticizing a woman. You care more about your reputation and your comfort than you do about your kids. Because if it's about your kids, you wouldn't care about anything else. And so this is why men, these tranny feminine men, get their labia injury or their butt hurt, because I'm talking harshly. I need a different approach. It's not working. The hell it isn't. It's working just fine. It worked for me. Why don't you start a father's rights group and see how long you last being Mr. Nice Guy? Punk ass bitch. Okay. What should I do in mediation? I got a video on how mediation is a scam. Why would you even do mediation? You should go to mediation and you should talk smack and say, okay, you settle on 50-50. And if she laughs at you, say, okay, I'm going to go to trial. I'm going to put you on the stand for a day. I'm going to take the stand for a day, and I'm going to show that you're mentally ill. You've already answered. You should have done a deposition by now. If you didn't do it, if you did a deposition by now, then you should say at your deposition, you look like a mentally ill weirdo. I'm going to destroy you on the stand in court. I may not get full custody, but do you want to roll the dice? Because all the factors in the law say this. So what you do at mediation depends on, have you studied the law and the factors in the law in your state? Like I talk about on my videos. Google, if you're in New Mexico factors custody. Go through those factors and see where she loses and tell her, I'm going to take you to trial and put you on the stand. It's going to cost her $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to go to trial if she has an attorney. Most people use mediation to scare a guy into surrendering. You should flip it around on her. If you don't know how to do all the stuff I'm talking about, get a consult with me. Hey man, how you doing? I'm doing fine. I threw out my back a couple weeks ago when I was crawling on the floor. I thought I slipped the disc, but I think I just tweaked something. So back is still a little sore, but I'm up and around. So anyway, I just had to, where are you from? I'm from the greater Seattle area, like it says under every single YouTube video. If you click the link under every video, it shows my location. Greater Seattle area, closer to Tacoma. It doesn't, if you're asking if I could help you, I help people all over Europe, Australia, Canada, and every state in America. It doesn't matter where I'm from. The battle is the same wherever you're at. You were ordered to do mediation. Okay, well, you should fight the order to do mediation. There's an argument for that. I talk about that in my mediation video, I think. If you can settle at mediation, you could have settled by now. Go settle by now. Call her attorney and talk about settlement. If you can't settle, why are you going to mediation to pay somebody to mediate? It's a scam. You should tell that to the judge. You shouldn't settle for a stupid order from the judge. You should challenge the judge on that stuff. So, but everybody just gives in because the judge ordered it. I can't talk about how mediation shouldn't be ordered. Think about it. If you cannot settle, why are you going to mediation to spend thousands? See, the attorneys want this. The attorneys want to sit there and yak and talk about where you'll never get to. And they'll drag it out as long as possible because that's billable hours. And your attorney expects you to settle, or they're going to bail on you, or they'll say you don't have a chance at trial. And then you'll say, but you told me I get 50-50. Well, things change and blah, 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 blah. Everything's a hustle and a con. You shouldn't give in to the hustle and the con. Now, you may challenge mediation and go into mediation and still be ordered to do it, but I would still at least challenge it. But if you could settle at mediation, settle right now. Save money on mediation. If you both have attorneys, say, tell them this is my offer. If they won't offer, let's just waive mediation because we can't settle. The judge is ordering us to pay a service in order to get an order for our kids. That's a fascist dictator extortion scam that everybody should be calling out, but nobody wants to call that out. So, and a lot of states, there's just a court rule on going to mediation. So there's a civil rule in the court. That's not the law created by the legislature, which is we the people, and we dictate to the judges and to the courts what they're supposed to do and the laws that govern ourselves. If there's no law requiring it, why do you got to go and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars when you know you're not going to settle and it's already And they'll make you go to mediation because they know the attorneys are going to make money, and they made money on mediation, and they're all in the same system, and they're hooking each other up. Maybe if you have an attorney, ask your attorney, why are we going to mediation when I know we're not going to settle? Oh, you just have to. Why do you have to do something that's unproductive? The courts are supposed to be productive. Read the Code of Judicial Conduct for judges too. So, but if you don't know what you're doing going into mediation, you may want to get a consult with me. And because I need to know the details of your case, of how, what you can talk shit to the mother about at mediation. So, okay, I'm going to jump off here. I got an appointment I got to deal with, but I had to deal with this stupid ass. Stop talking. I did a video telling people why I talk harsh because guys are pussies. And this guy says, well, stop talking harsh to us. It hurts our feelings. So he had a pussy comment in my videos saying, stop being a pussy. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. I'm going to just stop engaging with guys like this. I'll just ignore them. Continue your pussy ass bitch whining and crying, not getting a consult with me, not learning how to do this stuff, and follow the lead of all the losers out there and say James isn't nice and the system shouldn't be like this and the system should be, and judges should be doing what's best. They're not. You're in a corrupt system. Stop being a diva little bitch. Every group of any category of every type of human in the world at some point had faced some kind of oppression, and they had some people with some balls to fight out of it. If you don't want to fight out of it or don't want to fight the system, then shut the hell up and go and fight for your own kid in your own case. Stop with all the hot air, whining, crying BS that, you're wasting your time talking about a system that's immovable and not changing. But there's a way to go there and fight. And then people hear that and like, but that's too hard. I want a different way. You're a pussy ass bitch. If you're a dad, you're the only one who can rescue your kid. A guardian ad litem, a judge, a lawyer, parenting evaluator. These people don't give a shit about your kid. You're the only one who cares. So why do you want somebody else who doesn't give a shit about your kid to hopefully change their mind and fix their ways? It's not changing. You have to go in there and fight the right way. And I won, and I show you my winning court orders. Judge Anthony doesn't show you winning court orders from his case because he got creamed in his divorce probably. Steve Maeda got creamed in court, and he tells you you have to get a lawyer. You can't represent yourself. You're stupid if you represent yourself. I show you my winning court orders representing myself. There's all kinds of testimonies in the comments on different videos on how guys won without an attorney. And you guys don't want to listen to a winner because you don't like the way I talk, because I tell you one element of trying to win includes working hard for your kid, and you're a pussy ass bitch who doesn't want to work hard because you think it should be handed to you. Get the F off my page if you think like that. This page is for warriors who want to fight. I explain clearly why I have to talk harshly and I don't got time to dilly-dally around and pussyfoot around. And then a guy has the no self-awareness and is sitting here basically admitting he's a pussy-ass bitch. I don't know how you get on a page and comment, talk nicely. What you're doing isn't working. And I have winning court orders showing what I did worked and countless testimonials. And this guy is saying, change your approach, it's not working, because he has really baby mama drama energy. He has his mind made up that he knows what's going on my end and what I see and what's working, what's not working. And he's telling me what my goal should be for my page. Get the F off my page if you don't like it, bitch.